Hello, everybody. Welcome to Profiling Evil Live by Mike King. Today, I'm here with Lauren Scharf, and I'm going to bring her right in. We're going to go right to work. I've been wondering what Lauren has been up to. And Lauren, thank you for giving me a call and asking if I wanted to chat. I thought, yeah, let's just do it. Let's jump on a call and find out what you've been up to. How have you been?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year. Man, it's 2020 was a rough one for a lot of us. I know for myself, I had a lot going on during the holidays and things like that. And so that's why I was away for a while.
Well, it's nice to hear from you, and it was nice to get periodic texts just to know that your heart was still pumping blood and that you were doing well. I've been really intrigued because I've loved watching your channel, and folks, if you haven't subscribed to Lauren's channel, please do. It really has given a pulse of what's happening in Colorado, and I know that you just made a trip to Salida. And I thought rather than you and I just catching up on the phone, we'd do it live and let everybody hear what you've been up to. And then I want to just kind of go back and ask about some of the names we've heard about and talked about over the last year and see what kind of updates you've got there. But why don't you tell us, number one, why you made the trip and what you were looking for?
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, I went to Salida, had a couple of people that I really wanted to reach out to, talk to that were close to the case. And when I did talk to George Davis, it was kind of a spur of the moment. I wasn't really planning it. I was in the area, thought, hey, I've tried to get a hold of him. Maybe I'll try it again one more time. And he happened to be there, him and his wife. And so I got to speak with him. And he answered a lot of my questions. There were some that I felt like he danced around. Some of the questions I asked him about his conversation with Morgan Gentile, because she had told me that him and Trevor Noel, excuse me, they had, after she had gotten back from the Broomfield job trip or whatever, that they had asked about her cell phone and if she was having an affair with Barry. And she was like, no, I wasn't having an affair. I never have. And then they were asking her about, whether if she could hand over her phone to authorities, she wouldn't, it's her right. She doesn't have to do that if she doesn't want to. And she was like, I'm going to, I don't have anything to hide, is what she told me. So that's why I wanted to talk to George also about that. He pretty much just said, she's a really nice lady. Nothing bad to say about Barry. And that was kind of all he would say about his relationship with Morgan Gentile. And then he brought up Jeffrey Puckett, and that conversation, it seemed that he said, oh, he's a meth head. He didn't get along with Barry. And so that's why he said those things about Barry, is kind of how he played it off when I asked him. And I didn't even bring up Jeffrey Puckett. He was the one that brought Jeffrey Puckett up when I was just asking him about Morgan Gentile. So
yeah, let me just ask you something, Lauren, and folks. I'm talking with Lauren Scharf, who many of you know has been on the ground in regard to the Suzanne Morphew missing persons case from the very beginning. We're talking about some of the people that she's had contact with in recent months and now in recent days, and maybe just because there might be people coming in new. Just maybe describe who the different characters are and where they fit in the picture, Lauren, and who George is.
Yeah, so George Davis, he was a person that I really wanted to talk to because he, I had learned, was one of the leaders of the initial volunteer searches that, Barry went out with, as well as Barry's friends and some of the Morphew's family members. And so he knew exactly where they searched in the initial couple days and couple weeks after Suzanne Morphew went missing. So I really thought it was important to talk to him to find out, where did they search? Why did they search there? And also just, what are they doing now? And so that's kind of how I started the conversation with George Davis, just wanting to know, are they doing anything more? Because it has been 8 months since Suzanne went missing. And so He's also a good friend to Barry. I guess oh, your Tyler just texted me. He's like, "Are you on?" So he, yeah. So George is good friends with him. They work together also, as well as they work out together. He's also on the Chaffee County Volunteer Fire Department as well with Barry. So and they live really close to each other. So I asked him, how did he get involved? And he told me, he supposedly heard the radio call about the missing bike being recovered. And so he went over to that area, and he's told me he was the third person to see Suzanne's bike being pulled up out of the ravine, or, so I was like, wow, that's really important for people to understand, was the bike damaged? Where was the bike? What did the deputies do? And he went through that with me a little bit. If you want to see kind of that whole thing, and I put it on my YouTube channel for people to watch.
Well, that's great. So did you happen to talk at all about if he was the first person to see this bike and see it in the pristine location that it was in? Did he see any artifact that would suggest there was an accident, like blood on the ground or torn clothing or an animal scratching the ground and dragging someone off, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, that was a lot of my questions. I asked him, I said, do you think it was an animal attack? And he said it multiple times. No, definitely not an animal attack. And that's very different from what Barry initially had suggested, and had some of his theories be that he thought it was a mountain lion or things like or another type of animal that possibly attacked her and pulled her up into the mountain. And so him telling me initially he thought, no way, it wasn't an animal attack. And then he also said that the bike was not damaged. So he didn't think that she had rode off the road and tumbled down. She might have been hit by a car. That was not something he suggested at all. He did not think that at all. But he did think that.
Did he suggest that it would have been staged and placed there rather than crashed? I mean, there's only a couple of options.
Yeah. I feel like he was alluding to that she was kidnapped, and that the bike was placed there for sure.
Okay. Well, that's good. We talked about that. We brought on those mountain lion experts to talk about the realities of that. And I think we debunked that early on. And yet it kind of hung on for a bit. And it's nice to hear the narrative is turning more toward reality than what seems like fiction. That's amazing. So, and it's amazing that you were able to get him to visit with you. Now, you also had a conversation with Puckett, and have you had any subsequent discussions with him, and any thoughts?
The only conversation I had after my initial interview was, hey, thanks so much for talking with me. I want to make it clear, when I approached him, I asked him, I said, I understand you spoke to the Daily Mail. And he was like, whoa. I didn't know it was the Daily Mail when I talked to them. He thought it was a private investigator with the Mormon family when he was talking to this person. And so he didn't realize it was a reporter until he got home and looked at the business card that they had handed to him, and it said the Daily Mail.
That's called a clue.
Mm-hmm. So, and he felt like when I first initially talked to them that some of the things that he had told them got a little exaggerated or a little out of place. And so he wanted to make things right with me and tell me that there wasn't, mail scattered throughout the hotel. It was one piece of mail. He really wanted me to make that clear, is that it was one piece of mail that he had just accidentally found in the trash can. He had went to throw something away and realized there was some piece of mail in a room that Barry had used that weekend of Mother's Day when Suzanne went missing. And so he wanted to find out what was that piece of mail. And so that's kind of how it came to be.
And what was it again?
It was some type of insurance
Yeah.
thing. I'll have to look back, but yeah, it was some type of insurance.
How about, one of the things I'm trying to do with Profiling Evil Live is kind of keep these down, short, and concise and really high level. But you also had an amazing conversation with Morgan. Have you had follow-up conversation? How's she doing? Any changes in testimony? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so Morgan, she has been in communication with me. Something that I don't know if I mentioned in my report was that she had some of the initial tools that he had left at the hotel, and he never got back. So I told her that's important for, I think, the investigation, possibly that, that be handed over to law enforcement or Barry, but particularly make sure that law enforcement knows that, some of the tools that he had left for them to do the broom-filled wall, he never picked up again. But she's been doing good. I haven't spoken to her recently. The last time I spoke with her was in October. But sounds like she's doing well in a different state. So yeah.
And to debunk all of the continual ghost stories, do you believe in any way there was any kind of relationship other than employer-employee?
No, I mean, she was very forthcoming with me, answered every single question I threw at her thoroughly. And she was very adamant about she never had a sexual relationship with Barry or any type of relationship. It was strictly professional.
That's great. Hey, folks, I'm talking to Lauren Scharf, and she actually gave me a call a couple of days ago. We thought it would be fun to just jump on and get caught up. If you haven't logged in and subscribed to Lauren's YouTube channel, please do. And Laura, you've been a friend of ours for an awfully long time. You came in, I think we were probably the first YouTube channel that you actually spoke with. That's kind of risky for a reporter. So
I had to
thank
ask
you
my
for
boss.
doing
I was
that.
like, "Is that okay that I talk to these former law enforcement people, on their YouTube channel?" And he was like, "Yeah, why not? Maybe you'll learn something."
Well, hopefully you have learned something, and we
I have.
certainly have learned things from you. I got a batch of people that have rolled in, and I just want to say to all of the Profiling Evil family, thanks for jumping on. These are experiments as I try to figure out this kind of being a little more nimble. Lauren, you know how my mind is so structured, and I was texting Lauren right before, like, come on, Hollywood talent, it's time to get on and let's get moving here. But to all of you, thank you. If you haven't subscribed to Profiling Evil, would you please do it now? Just hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when we go live on things like this or the public record or our other programs. But Lauren, I really appreciate the fact that you came in. We have a huge number of folks who are listening, and it's really kind of exciting because, I keep talking about the fact that there's kind of a fine line between investigating and maybe even getting in the way of law enforcement and keeping things in the public eye where people know. And folks, if you know anything about this case, please reach out to the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office or the Colorado Bureau of Investigations. I still have great confidence that they're going to get this thing put together. But I did a film just a few days ago where I talked about more and more this is becoming a circumstantial evidence case where that takes a lot of courage. And now we have a new DA in the 11th District, Linda Stanley, who is really, I think, a bulldog. I mean, she's had a law enforcement background, and she's an experienced prosecutor and a public servant. What are your thoughts on Linda? Have you had a chance to interview her yet? And what are your thoughts about how she might breathe some life into this thing?
Yeah, I mean, she has police background, and I do plan to hopefully interview her. I haven't yet. I hope to reach out to her very soon. I know this has just been the first week since she took office, so she's probably slammed with, getting up to speed with, what the DA typically does in the 11th Judicial District. So I'm very interested to talk with her, and I hope to do so soon.
Yeah. Well, will you take a few questions if the back office happens to find one that they want to corner you with, and we'll just say hello to a few people. JRS, who is Puckett, one of the players. In fact, Lauren, why don't you just name who the players are real quickly that you have focused on the most?
Yeah, so Jeffrey Puckett and Morgan Gentile and Cassidy Cordova were three of Barry's employees that he had hired for Mother's Day weekend to go to Broomfield, Colorado to help put up a wall, or redo a wall, I should say. They had done it in the earlier, and it wasn't straight. It wasn't how it needed to be higher. And so that is where Barry supposedly was on Sunday. And so I try to talk with them, like, did you see Barry and things like that? And they never did see Barry. They never, I guess when he was coming back to Salida, Jeffrey Puckett, Morgan Gentile, and Cassidy Cordova, they were going to Broomfield to start that job. And that's the reason why Barry was not in Salida when his wife was reported missing.
Great. Nancy Eileen wants to know if Barry has a girlfriend. Do you want to try to take that?
That's a great question. I have been looking into that, and I don't know how much I can say.
Then let's hold it until it's validated and again, I mean, we got to keep reminding people that they haven't named Barry as a suspect in this case. He's the husband of a missing woman, and of course there are some things that we keep calling red flags that are like huge banners that keep suggesting things. But and there are two girls who are without their mom now for 8-9 months now. I mean, it's just unconscionable. And folks, for anyone who's wondering, we do have some periodic contact with Andy Mormon and his sister, and we even on Christmas Day I spoke with his sister, and the family appreciates the fact that you all are keeping this in the public eye, as are other YouTubers, and I'm so grateful that thing keeps going. AB says, has their home sold, and does that change anything in the investigation? So I'll let you talk about that, and maybe I'll weigh in on that.
I do not believe their house has sold. I do know that their house is up for it's up on Airbnb as well. People can rent it out, but I do not believe that their house has sold. And I mean, investigators, they did 2 search warrants at the house, which is really unheard of. Oh, there goes my light. But they gave the house back to the Morphews, and so they can try to sell it.
And I don't think it changes anything in the investigation. They've collected the evidence that they can. They certainly have images to recreate what the interior's like. And you're right, it is really something, because they actually went back to the legal system 2 times to get warrants to go back in. Going in that first time is a huge leap. Getting a second warrant to go in, you got to really have a compelling reason to do that. And I think it's interesting because when we look at the West case out in California City, the chief yesterday in his interview actually tipped his hand a little bit and said they've been into the home 4 times that he knows of, but the family has made it available. So I don't know if they have something in the warrant that suggests that they could go multiple times for a certain period of time, or if they actually it was 1 episode of a search and they just kept the place locked down for a couple of days, like we saw in the Morphew case where the house was locked down for days. And so just the fact that they've been back in 3 or 4 times, it might still be under the envelope of 1 search warrant. But yeah, that was really quite interesting. The question from Dream Chaser is, has he collected life insurance? Anything that you've heard?
That's a great question. I have not heard any that. I do know that he did get permanent guardianship in Indiana for Suzanne, and that's just recently.
Yeah, and if you go back, folks, we actually had a couple of lawyers on, and we talked about how conservatorship and guardianships work, and there are some pathways where even though now if they can get Suzanne declared missing, that there are some opportunities to just take that over. So the family has to move on. I mean, they have to make changes and adjustments financially and otherwise. But gosh, I mean, the only thing that's important is finding Suzanne. The rest of it's just stuff. And I think we sometimes get bogged down in the stuff. Charles Rounds is a new member. Thanks a lot, Charles. It's really nice to have you here. And just seeing a few people, Lori Powell and Mountain Mama Nirvana. I know you, Laura, love when you see some of these names that pop up. Mimi J2, who is always so supportive. Candy. I just want to thank everybody. Well, Lauren, anything else that you uncovered in Salida in your trip, and anything that would be interesting for people to just know about?
Yeah, so I did notice that a lot of businesses and a lot of people that I spoke to in Salida, they're either very fearful of their safety if they talk, or if they, they know something, they're worried to report it, or they are, concerned that if they do say something that it might hurt their business. And I just want to encourage people, if they do know something, CBI, FBI, and Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, I mean, they need to have that information. They want the truth. They need to find out what the truth is to solve this case, to hopefully find Suzanne. And I mean, even if it's very minute, the information that people have, it might help them get another tip, or, find something else that might lead to a big, big tip. And I just want to encourage people, if they know something, please report it, even if it's 9 months or 10 months from when Suzanne went missing. I also thought, going to the sheriff's office, I really wanted to talk to the sheriff. Unfortunately, their office was closed on Friday. Didn't know that. And I was intrigued that they had right on the front door Suzanne's flyer. And then I thought it was really interesting that they also, when I would go near where the bike crash was allegedly, that or bike scene, that there was no sign of Suzanne Morphew anywhere, and no missing flyer or anything. But when my last trip, I saw that they did put up a big bundle of flyers near where people park to go trail hiking or biking and snowshoeing in that area, just to know, there are a lot of visitors that come in that area, even if they're out of state, or, locally, or from Colorado, another city, that they can realize and hopefully take some of those flyers and put it around in their town. Even if it's, states away, they can do that. And I think that would help get the word out as well.
Oh, that's good information to share. And I want to just mention that I was just reminded that regardless of what civil remedies the family might be trying to do, my understanding is that Barry could not collect on insurance for 5 more years. So even if there was a petition to do that, there are some laws in place that would prevent that. So that's really good information. A question here from J Beebs 1. Do you ever consider that some of the information that you and Jared share on YouTube may hurt the investigation? Yeah, in fact, just a few seconds ago, I actually mentioned the fact that we have to keep in mind there's a real fine line between keeping these things in the public eye and thwarting or hurting the investigation. And I'll repeat it one more time just because the question popped up. If you know something about this case, YouTube's not the place to reveal it. It's to get it to law enforcement. And we'll just talk about things that are popping out in the public eye. And that's really much safer anyway, from my perspective, Lauren, for us to talk about things that are publicly available. And, folks, I spent a law enforcement career. The last thing I want to do is become a burr under the saddle of law enforcement who's trying to solve these cases. That's what's most important.
And Mike, I just want to say, like, any information that I get, I send it straight to the investigators. I mean, no matter if I think it doesn't have much to do with the case, it doesn't matter. I think they need to know what people are saying, and they need to know exactly what's being told to me, and things that I look into, I forward to them as well.
Yeah, that is, in my opinion, the perfect way of doing it. And we have to just continually remind ourselves is that even though this might be something that might get me an extra click or an extra subscriber,
Mm.
this is about Suzanne and all these other missing persons and unsolved cases. I wanted to shout out to Bernadette Van Wyck, who became a new member. Thank you for joining up, and to all of you, thanks for taking time, just jumping in at the last minute. If you haven't subscribed to Profiling Evil, please do. Make sure you're ringing the bell so you get those notifications. And for those of you that are in a position to do it, please consider those channel memberships. They help us continue to try to provide some quality content. Frankly, Lauren, I mean, these things cost money to even have a site to house the framework that we're sitting in and be able to project this over and get it onto YouTube and stuff. So all of that is just incredibly helpful. Well, let's, anything else that you think would be interesting to just touch on?
I just am planning to do more videos more frequently. I know in 2020, I only did really one new video on my YouTube channel, but I plan on having hopefully more guests on my channel and new information about this case on there.
Good. So will you come back?
Come back to Salida or come back to your channel?
Profiling Evil?
Yes. Yeah, I can come back.
And could I get like a public commitment that you'll show up 2 minutes before it begins instead of 8 seconds before?
Yeah. Yes. Hey, I don't have people behind me helping me like you do. So yeah. That's my excuse.
The difference is you don't need people behind you helping you, but I do. So no, I'm going to just throw out one more chance for people. If you've got a question, let's do that. And I'm happy to answer any questions for a moment. But I want to also take.
I have a question for you. Are you guys going to do or plan on anything for, I mean, it's months down the road, but are you guys planning on doing anything search wise in the near future when it comes to like Suzanne's 1-year anniversary of her disappearance?
And the search that we participated in was just to support Andy. Again, I don't think it's Profiling Evil's position or place to go in and to take over things and run a search or even an investigation. And so if Andy said, hey, I want to do something else, we would certainly be willing to help out and make our platform available to get the word out. And again, to be able to provide mapping and tracking of all of the searchers and things like we did before. And we've been able to do it in a couple of things since then. But I really like to stress, we'll support their efforts, and hopefully their efforts are in concert with law enforcement's efforts, so that we just don't want to see. I mean, law enforcement should be working with the Mormon family and the Morphew family and reporting to them weekly, if not every couple of weeks, and just saying, hey, here's where we are. And the last thing we want to do is become one more bureaucracy in the middle of that, or one more, person that's trying to do good, but getting in the way.
Mm. Have you heard, I know that Chris McDonough, he talked to Barry. Have you heard that conversation? No,
a lot of excitement around hearing what might be said there. And Chris and I will be on Court TV tonight. And of course, he has his program that he's got up and rolling now, and Sunday will be his launch. And I'll be listening just like you. I know he's invited a couple of guests. I didn't get invited, but I'm going to be listening. So.
Okay, I'll be listening too.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Well, so Lauren, thank you so much for taking time. We are 15 seconds from a 30-minute live, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you and your dogged determination to follow this case. It's one that is constantly on people's minds and constantly questions that are popping up. And we look forward to seeing it resolved, because I really believe it is going to be resolved. And I really have great hopes in this new DA. And folks, if you haven't seen my video on the new DA, just go back. It's just a couple of days ago on Linda Stanley and the new 11th District DA, District Attorney for the state of Colorado. So, Lauren, thank you again. We'll see you soon. And to all of you, thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.